Richard is owner of George's Trains, and it's a hobby shop. And as you know, this is part of our one of our series is talking to hobby shop owners because there's not that many of them around anymore. And the ones that are, we need to hear from and hopefully support best we can. So Richard, welcome.
Thanks, Jim.
I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us tonight. We support the hobby shop industry. There's just not many of you guys around anymore.
No, we've dwindled to not that many, is from a lot over the years. And then, yeah, we're down to a few dozen or more, it seems anyway.
Listen, I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about your shop, where you're located, kind of things you do, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, currently we're in Markham, Ontario. We used to be in the center of Toronto for 47 years, and we moved up about 12, 13 years ago to Markham. So we're just north of Toronto. It's about a 5 or 10 minute drive just north of the city. Right looking over the CN main line. We got 2 tracks beside the window or the driveway just about. So good location. And we're turning 60 this year in June. So yeah, we've been around a while.
Well, I've heard a lot of people talk about your hobby shop and the different moves you've had to make and so forth. It must be frustrating for you a little bit.
A little bit. It was, the other store was nice, but the taxes just got a little carried away for the city. And they were pushing a business improvement area down the street, which was, as far as I was concerned, another tax. So it was all coming off the bottom end, which, you know, makes it tougher these days.
You a model railroader or a certain kind of hobbyist? What's your background?
I collect more than I do model. I collect mostly LGB. So I've been into that. And then my father had a large tin plate collection, so I have some of that as well that I managed to hang on to.
Model railroading an important part of your business?
Oh yes, that's the only thing we do.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have any other hobbies. We're just strictly trains.
Do you get involved at all with the different paints and this kind of thing that I keep hearing about that other hobbies are using, like the military modeler paints and that kind of thing?
We haven't done so much in the military. We have brought in an assortment of paints. It's not the easiest thing to get, and especially up in Canada, we have to truck it in. We can't just order it from Walters and have it shipped right up because they mark it as hazardous, and the carriers won't carry it across the border. So we ship to Buffalo area and then we have it trucked up every week or two.
Ah, I see. What do you think your business challenges are in the future? What are you looking about, or what are you worried about right now, I guess?
The challenge, I think, is getting the young people involved and getting them away from the electronic video games and getting them, you know, hands-on into the hobby. Because there's a lot of things that the hobby does for you, you know, with your patience level, your fine skills, you know, just motor control, imagination. There's a lot to the whole background of the hobby. And I think kids these days are missing out on that.
You got any ideas to encourage that?
Well, we love to do more advertising, but with the manufacturers cutting the discounts to the stores back, it makes it tougher to have that extra little bit of cash to do the advertising. So I think sometimes the manufacturers may have to step it up a little more and do the advertising. We do have a sort of an attraction coming to Toronto. Well, it's been in Toronto for a little while. It's been moved to downtown Toronto, Miniature World, I think it is Canada, which is a small version of the one that they have over in Germany. So that being downtown, I think will attract people, and they'll need some place to go. And there's only a few of us around the Greater Toronto area that I think it'll help business. So hopefully they get up and running. But with the pandemic on, it's sort of put a bit of a damper on people coming into crowded areas and that right now.
I hear the manufacturers are really becoming, in some way, a lot of ways, maybe your competitors.
Yes, they are. That's what it seems to be, that they look for us to get their face on the market, and then they cut us either off or cut the discounts down, that it almost doesn't make worth carrying. You do it for special orders, so it's in and out, and you make a little bit on the way by, but a lot of these you can't afford to keep on the shelf for that long. 3 to 6 months and you're cut back.
Well, and I understand too that one of the policies that is hurting the hobby shop owner is the fact that you don't get advance notice, or you can't advise your customers to get advance notice for certain manufacturers' products. And by the time you find out about it, or your modelers can find out about it, it's closed out.
Yes, I've missed a number of items from a few suppliers like that, they launch it, and sometimes they launch it on a Monday, which we're closed on Mondays, so I don't really pay attention to my emails and that. I like to have a couple days off and try and regroup, and just to find out later on, the next day, that, oh, this model got announced, and I try to order them and they're all sold out, and that frustrates our customers too. And because we are one of the largest around, they expect us to have it, but we can't always have control over that. And unfortunately, and sometimes I have other stores that will call me and say, hey, did you know this is coming out? Because they know I'm closed on Mondays. So
Yeah.
sometimes I get that bit of help.
Well, let me ask you this. What can model railroaders do to help the hobby shop owners? I mean, because if you don't have the product, if you don't have the information, then we suffer too, we being your customer.
Right.
So to me, the more that I talk to hobby shop owners, it seems to me that we have a mutual problem here. And the problem is we either deal directly with the manufacturer, or we're just out of the loop. And
yeah,
how can we work together to try to help this situation where the hobby shop benefits, but so do the modelers that would like to use hobby shops?
right. Because eventually the hobby shops will disappear, and then when you want that bottle of paint or glue, where are you going to get that? Because the manufacturer is not going to supply that for you. So I only think the only way is communication between the modelers and the manufacturers, is to sort of write a bit of a complaint that I'd love to buy it direct from my local hobby store, but you don't seem to be able to supply them. And what is that going forward? So I think there's got to be a bit of lead time. I've suggested to some of them that they limit the number of pieces that they're allowing people to order at the beginning. So put a maximum of 6 or 10 pieces or whatever it is per item. And then if there's any left over at the end of the day or the end of the week, whatever you want to do for timeline, then call back the guys that wanted more. So everybody gets a little bit. Even if the shop's got only 2 or 3 pieces, at least you got something versus nothing.
Well, for an individual modeler to start writing the manufacturer, that's kind of like an individual person writing their congressman, it seems to me. I'm wondering if the National Retail Hobby Shop Association doesn't have a role in this somehow, to try to help both the modelers and the local hobby shop.
Yeah, well, we don't seem to be involved in that, I guess, up in Canada. There used to be an independent toy stores of Canada, I think it was, that had a little more pulling power. I don't know what happened to them. Haven't heard from them in quite some time now. But I think if enough people complained or wrote to them, I think it does speak volumes that they will listen to somewhat. They could even copy the hobby shop as well. And these days with the internet, it doesn't take a lot for people to send a quick letter.
It's a good point. Let me ask you this, your Walters orders, what, some of the modelers would love to be able to know when you order from Walters so that they can in effect piggyback on your order and
Oh,
make
yeah.
sure that they can call you and get their order in, whenever you order. So how does that work? I mean, how can modelers accomplish this with your store?
Well, we order every Saturday.
Okay.
So, because you have to have it in Walters by noon on Monday. And as I say, we're closed Mondays, so I have it in by 5 o'clock on Saturday. And then we usually have it the following Thursday or Friday. I've been coming UPS lately, and they've been a little backlogged. So we used to get it religiously on Thursdays, but now it seems to trickle over to Friday some day or some weeks.
Do you notify your customers when the stuff comes in so they can come pick it up, or how does that work?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we either call them or email them, depending on how they want to be communicated with.
Do you order from other suppliers other than Walters like that?
Oh, yes, regularly.
So
Yeah.
the other suppliers that you order from, then can modelers find out, when those go out and piggyback on those orders too?
Yeah, there's not as regimented, but it is usually once every week to 10 days, 2 weeks, or like Horizon for Athern and Heartland. And there's some of the other shops like Mount Albert Lumber that we do, the scale lumber. And there are other weathering paints and things that Hunterline carries that we stock as well. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, from what I'm being told, shipping cost to Canada is a real problem for buyers.
It's horrendous.
I don't know if there's any solution to that or not. Do you have any ideas?
Well, we currently consolidate in Buffalo and then we truck it across, but it's just jumped drastically. We had been paying somewhere in the $600 to $700 range for about 25 to 30 boxes. I just got an order in last week with 28 boxes and it jumped up to $1,000. So it's getting pricey. And that can be for either a box of magazines or a large box that's 40, 50 pounds. So I might get 6 magazines or 12 magazines in one box, and it still costs me the same for every box pretty well, except for the pounds. So it's tougher, but we're looking at other sources to see if we can somehow come down on that, because we don't incorporate that into our pricing. We generally, being Canada, we've got the dollar exchange rate to contend with. So generally, if the dollar's at 1.3, then $10 item is going to cost $13.
Right.
It's not like we tag on shipping on top of that. It's just part that's built into it for us. We just sort of absorb that.
Is this because of COVID? Why are the problems with shipping and everything all of a sudden just so critical?
I think it is COVID. Yeah, I think it started getting driven by the container shortage, and the people that had the containers, they were bumping up their prices because they knew they had supply and demand. And then a lot of the containers were coming over full, but they didn't want to send them back empty, so they sat over here for a while. So that created more of a shortage, and then a shortage of product as well. A lot of it was sitting over on the docks in China and not able to get it over here. So I think that they put the prices up. They wouldn't ship partial containers anymore either, that you had to have a full container. So you either had to wait till somebody else tagged into your container and filled it up, or you had to fill it up yourself. So that made it tougher.
I don't see that problem being solved anytime soon. Do you?
No, unfortunately not. No.
What about people? You having trouble finding people?
I mean, staff-wise, or?
Yeah.
I'm okay with staff currently. thankfully I've got some good guys, and yeah, no, I think we got 5 of us currently. One just works 3 or 4 days a week, but he's my shipper, so Saturdays there's not much shipping going on anyway, because our post office isn't open up here. So yeah, we're all set for the beginning of the week, and off we go. So no, it's been doing all right that way. So I'm lucky. But we did have a time that I had one chap retire when COVID started, and he was a big help to me. And trying to find somebody to replace him that had some background knowledge of just the model railroading and the digital part of it, it was tough. And we just lucked out with a younger chap coming by, and he's been with us a little over a year now. So it's been great working out.
Well, that's fantastic, because I hear a lot of the companies are having trouble finding employees, particularly that have any knowledge at all.
Yes. And with the government subsidies up here, and I think it was the same down in the US as well, that they were making more at home sitting around watching TV than they were getting paid originally. So they could just, it was tough for getting them back, because they were coming back for less money to a lot of stores or businesses, instead of just staying home and collecting their enhancement bonus payments, I guess.
Yeah. What about hands-on clinics for modelers? I hear modelers say they would really like the hobby shops to be able to offer that kind of thing. It would be an educational system for them. They used to, for example, me, I can remember I used to go to my hobby shop and just stand around and talk to the people that were there and learn a tremendous amount about modeling and how they did things and why they did certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Do you offer that kind of thing, or?
We do, in a way. We don't do a specific clinic. We do an ongoing building of a layout in the store. So we're continually building it up, and then when it gets to either close to finished or finished, there's always somebody waiting in line to buy it. So then we either switch scales, and it's either HO usually, but the odd N scale layout here and there, just for something different, and to open up that part of the hobby to other people. And people come in regularly to see how we're doing things, how the water's working, or the waterfall that we do. And we always try and do different aspects of it, with the mountain, different layers of styrofoam, and all the plaster and the static grass. So in a way, we are doing clinics steadily.
Do you have any plans maybe to increase that kind of situation for modelers?
We had talked about it, and I had one chap lined up that is a really good modeler until the pandemic came along. And hopefully we'll get back on track once things open back up again down the road. Just he was really eager to do it. He'd done a few before, because he had his own store for a while. So yeah. So hopefully in the near future, we'll be back and trying that again.
Well, that's great. The other thing, Richard, I hear from modelers is they want their hobby shop to stock the basic stuff. They want wood, they want paint, they want track, they want the basics of model railroading. They don't expect the hobby shop to have everything that they could possibly think of, or all the brand new products all at once, but they do expect the basics. Is that what you hear? Is that kind of what you do?
That's what we do, yes. We try and keep all the tracks so essential. We're doing the basic, the paint, the glue, the track, the scenery, and we dabble in, a number of different figure sets from different manufacturers, Woodlands, Preiser, Walters, Knock, there's a number. So we just keep bringing in different assortments all the time.
Yep.
and just have a variety of things. So you might see it there 1 month and it could be gone for 2 or 3 months and something else replaces it and then it sells and we bring in something different again. Just so it's not the same old all the time. I always need to have some variety because different things appeal to different people.
And then what modelers expect, if they can get the basics when they come in the store, if they need things, they really want the hobby shop to help them with the ordering of it.
And that's not a problem. I say we do Walters, and for a lot of people, they're thrilled with a week turnaround to get it. If they come in on Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day before Saturday, that
Yep.
we tell them, next Thursday or Friday it's going to be here. Well, they're thrilled because
Yep.
they found a number of other places that have tried to order for them, and they don't have that volume to order as often as we do.
That's one of the beauties of hobby shops, as far as I can tell, that'll work with modelers like that. And if they can count on that from the hobby shop, that, from what I understand, would be a major motivating factor to use the hobby shop more.
Right. And we can pull from all the different distributors and that as well, manufacturers. So we can try and consolidate it all so it's ready for them to pick up. So Walters might be out of something. Well, we'll try one of the other suppliers. We have a few in Canada, not a lot, but we have a few. And some of the others I can get it to the border fairly quick and then it comes up on our truck. So that works out too.
The other thing that I hear a lot is that compared to 5-10 years ago, model railroaders are looking at other hobbies like they've never looked before. They're
Yeah.
looking at what the military modelers are doing. They're looking at what the RC people are doing, particularly with the linkages and the different motors that they use and this kind of thing. A lot of people are getting into animation. And it's to some people, model railroading is a different hobby. It's not so much building a complete railroad as it is maybe a diorama. That has a railroad flavor, but it's a diorama. It's not an operating railroad. How does your hobby shop fit into that I guess change in focus of what a model railroader is looking for when they come in the door?
Well, we try and accommodate them. They can give us ideas of what they're looking for. And I have other contacts with other hobby shops as well that I can pull in if they want something in the RC car field or anything pretty well. Because we've got the distributors that aren't just exclusive trains, they're doing all the hobbies. So we can pull from anybody for some of the ideas. And that's what they are doing because they are using different ideas from all sorts of different hobbies, car making or military or whatever it is. We carry some of the streaking pencils that came out that look like rust, and I think it was designed for the military, but it's been great for model railroad cars and everything. So it's really.
I think that's what the model railroaders are starting to find out. I mean, they're going to places and they're seeing these different products, and for the first time, they're saying, "Well, I could use that."
Yeah. That's why I look around at all the different distributors and see what other items we can bring in. And even if we just bring in samples of things, so we try, a few of this, a few of that, just to see what response we get in our area. And if it's a go, then we'll bring in more depth of it. As long as we get good feedback, we're game to try it.
What about the small manufacturer? There's so many of them out there, and they're struggling. They're hopefully they're doing better now with the pandemic, but they're struggling for visibility, for people to find out about them and so forth. They can't very well afford a lot of money for advertising and that kind of thing. But at the same time, they produce an awful lot of new products that are highly desired by a lot of modelers. How does a hobby shop relate to them, or is there a way that hobby shops can get more involved with the small manufacturer?
I think it's up to the small manufacturer to go along with it. But I think if they tried working with the store and saying, well, hey, you try these 50 different items, and if some of them don't sell, then we'll take them back and we'll swap them for some other items that do. Or they could try, so many items on consignment and say, try this for 2 or 3 months, see what sells. We'll refill it at the end and see if it's a go for you. So it might just be enough to sort of jog people that, hey, they've got some new items in. Never heard of this guy before, but let's try them. Because we've tried different people in just sort of cottage industries that, especially now with the 3D printing and that people are coming out with things, and they don't have a lot of things in their lineup, but they're starting. So I'll bring in a sample of everything and then see how that goes. And whenever they got something new, we want to try it. But
I think that's wonderful. I really do. I commend you for doing that. You're the first hobby shop that's really talked about doing that kind of thing that I've had on the show. I really appreciate you doing that kind of thing for the small manufacturers.
Yeah, well, we're glad to help, and we're all in it together. It's like a small family in a way, because everything's connected and everybody seems to know somebody that knows somebody else. So yeah, I think it works out well.
I think you're right. What are your future plans for your business, Richard? Where are you taking it?
Well, hoping to keep on sort of chugging along, and I'm not ready to retire yet. I enjoy it. I don't feel it's like a job, although some days it's a little stressful with all the amount of paper. But it's fun to go in every day, because you never know what you're going to come across. And everybody's building different layouts, or they're collecting something. There's different aspects of the hobby. So it's always interesting to see who's coming in the door, and you just never know. There's everybody from, all the celebrities and that, to just people that are struggling. Some are on social assistance and they still need something to do. So for $20 or $30, you can buy quite a bit of scenery material for the weekend, and you're busy.
Yeah.
So there's always something to do. So yeah, I enjoy. So I think I'll be there till I can't get in there anymore. So.
How about the electronics part of your business for the model railroader? Where are you seeing that going?
That seems to be increasing. I have a harder time keeping up with it. Well, thankfully, that's why I've got some of my guys that'll be able to deal with that a little more. I came from a mechanical background, so the electronics are a little hard to grasp sometimes, just all the digital in the chips and everything else. But I'm getting the hang of it, but it seems to be growing. I've noticed it expanding. It seems to be focused in some areas, because you don't need to carry a wide range of things now, because it's readily accessible, usually, except for the computer chips right now. But otherwise, you can bring in an assortment of some of the different chips that do a variety of different locos, or bring in the blanks and load them up yourself. And it's growing, because people want to have a little more animation to their layouts. We have a club upstairs, and they've animated quite a bit. They've gone from the sort of satellite controlled vehicles that you can have running around with no tracks or visible tracks. And they just do their own loops and different sequences. One has a little guard area that it has a truck pull up to the gate, and the gate opens, and the guy starts the car back up, and he drives through the gate, goes down to the end, does his check, comes back, and the gate opens up again. So it's quite fascinating to see all the animation. It looks more realistic all the time.
Yep. Well, that's fascinating. Well, let me open this up. Anybody else have any questions for Richard?
Hi, Richard. Greg Cassidy. It's not a question, but I thought NAFTA and then its replacement was supposed to help with commerce between countries, and it seems like it's all gone away. Is that what's happened?
Well, we don't have any duties and things right now. So that part of it, because we used to pay a fair duty on some of it, some of it was 11 to 14%.
Okay.
So there's none of that. So reduced scale model trains is duty free. So that part we're okay, which that's been a big help. Because to have the dollar exchange and then have to tag on another 11 to 14% or whatever it was making it a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah,
And
but it's got to be hard to absorb the transportation costs the way you do.
Yeah, well, you've got to have enough of the right product to spread it across. Like we just had the big delivery of the Athearn SD70s. So that was a real big chunk. So at least that helps spread the freight across a lot of product. But it is tough.
Well, I hope it gets better somehow.
Me too. We really need it. Yeah, it's been a challenge. That's for sure. Yeah. No.
Anyone else have a question? Well, Richard, I really do appreciate you taking the time to be with us tonight. I thoroughly enjoyed hearing about you. I wish you the very best. Is there anything you'd like to close with?
I'd just like to say thanks, Jim, for having me, and appreciate the years to everybody listening, and hope we all have a great model railroading season.
Fantastic. Richard, thanks so very much again. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks, Jim. Appreciate it too. All right.